Hi, I'm Vexanon from VexTech Labs.
And I'm Patrick, and
I
I
hate
love
Grand
Grand
Theft
Theft
Auto
Auto 5.
Alright, so GTA 5. Technically a masterpiece. Gorgeous game. You could tell a lot of people put a lot of effort into it. You know, they really worked hard on it. So did the crew of James Cameron's Avatar. And that is what this game is. It is the Avatar of video games. Because once you get underneath all that pretty shit, you start to see errors. And if you have a critical eye, it's just stupid. So where should I begin? You pick. Just give me something.
Story.
It's so fucking boring. It is so bad. It's like three people who are just assholes getting into crimes, but they're like, I don't want to be in crime anymore. Let me go murder 50 people while I cry about it. You know, none of the characters are likable. You have Michael's son, who's just a dick, played by Jonah Hill. You have his wife, who's a bitch, but Michael's like this explosive, angry guy. Why would he stay married to them? Like, why would he stay in that? And then his son got kidnapped, and I was watching a buddy of mine play it. He was doing that mission, and I'm like, why do you care? Like, he's an asshole. Why are you going after this? Then you have Trevor, who is literally Rockstar's middle finger to their community. Like, this is what our player base looks like. And he's just an asshole who's angry all the time. Every character in Grand Theft Auto 5 can be described with, he's an asshole and. Franklin, he's an asshole and a cynic. Franklin's friend, he's an asshole and a stereotype. Like, it's horrible, all right? The story is garbage. It's trash. What else you got?
Gameplay mechanics.
Gameplay mechanics are okay. The gunplay works. It's not crap. Cars handle like boats. Planes don't fucking fly. And helicopters, I don't even know. Like, they try to be like Battlefield in terms of how realistic the planes are. Just let me fly the fucking plane. Like, I don't need to learn how to actually handle a plane to play a video game. And let's talk about the fact that if you get the cops on you, it's not like old GTA where you can kind of duke it out with them, or you can duck away and go through like what's a spray and pay and get them off your back real fast. You don't even have that. You have to hide from them. So if you, say, going from point A to point B, accidentally clipped a cruiser, I hope you've got 10 minutes free, because guess what you're doing? And it's like, at 2 stars, they don't go away. Like, they just, and then if you try to fight back, it escalates, and so you're dead, you lose all your ammo, all your money, and you still haven't done the mission yet. So, you know, it's stupid. It's just stupid. Let's get into the humor, because that's a big part of GTA. It's meant for 14-year-olds, and that's pretty depressing and weird considering it's an M-rated game. Like, okay, Franklin's friend. I don't know his name because Lamar, thank you. I was shown a video by a friend of yours that was like, oh my god, he's so funny. And like, yeah, it was funny for the first 5 minutes. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of like Boondocks, where like I'm laughing at it, but Boondocks had a point to make. It was like, this is a critique. Lamar is just, look at this guy being a dick in situations where you wouldn't normally be a dick. Like, that's all he was, and that's most characters' interactions in the cinematics. Like, yeah, it's funny because you wouldn't see a person do that normally, but it got tired after the first 20 minutes, and the game tried to drag it on for 5 hours or however fucking long it goes. Lastly, multiplayer. Okay, first off, anyone who says, well, it's good because of multiplayer, it's a single-player game. You have to be able to stand on both. Single player. So, multiplayer, I spawned in, got ran over. Respawn, got ran over. Went to a gun shop, got some gear, got ran over. And then I read that people are like, if you fight back, like if you trash someone's car, you're put on a soft ban list where you only get spawned in with other assholes. So don't fight back. Don't do the thing that makes sense in a fucking Grand Theft Auto game, because Rockstar doesn't like that. Like modding, you can't mod either. They'll cease and desist your ass. One last thing, I said last before, but I forgot this, and I forgot this before. I was doing some reading, because the last time I played GTA 5 was about 2 years ago, so I want to make sure I had my information right. I was reading a critique, and they mentioned RPG mechanics, like leveling up and skills, and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Oh, right! This open-world crime game had RPG mechanics for your hardened criminals because they suck at everything. So you have to play yoga, you have to play shooting range, you have to play golf, so you can get better at driving a car. That's so fucking stupid! I don't need to play, like, there was a critique I read that said it best. If I want to play a half-assed tennis simulator, there is a Wii console in my closet collecting dust. I don't need it in my GTA.
I actually really like all of your points. I love them because while I disagree with most of them, I'm not going to say that you don't have a valid opinion on that, because I get it. But I'm going to go back and backtrack the same way you start. Let's start with story.
Sure.
You say that all of these characters are these generic, this guy's an asshole, and because of this, and he does this. Maybe so, but that's not their whole character. There's actually a lot of depth into all of these characters. Why is Michael so like dysfunctional? Why is his family so dysfunctional? And they address that later on in the game as like they try to fix it and like how much of a fucking mess they are. And yeah, at the end of the day, he hates his son. But he did go and try to save his son. He expresses his anger of the boat that was being stolen to cope with the fact that his son's a fuck. His son is a fuck. But at the end, can I spoil the game? Have you beaten it?
I did not beat it.
Okay, well, I'm going to spoil it,
Sure.
if you're ready. Spoiler alerts for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Like a 5-year-old game.
There, at the very end of the game, Franklin is giving a decision. Mm-hmm. Then first, the CIA comes up to me and is like, you have to kill this guy or we're going to kill you. And then somebody else, another group comes in and they're like, you have to kill the other guy or we're going to kill you. Or you can do nothing and we'll both kill you. And you have to decide what to do. And after running through all this crime world and doing all these heists and seeing Michael and Trevor not getting along and butting heads because of stuff that happened in their past, which I'll get into in a second because their past is awesome. You have to make a choice. You have to choose which one of the three to kill. Mm. And they don't tell you that if you decide not to kill anybody, he'll find a way to bring them all both together and like they'll essentially kill everybody. Mm-hmm. And like anybody who's after them, he calls up Lamar. And Lamar, who's been like a fuck to you this whole game, who's just trying to be like the next like 3-bit gangster, he comes through for you because you save his ass at one point in the game and he gets mad at you later on because he asks you for money and you're like, no man, I just saved your ass. And he like he's like really shitty and you don't think they're friends anymore. He calls him up, he's like, bro, I really need you to help me out. Me and my boys are about to get hunted down. I need you to get the crew together, and we need to go. He's like, man, fuck your shit. But I got you, bro. Like, let's get down with this. And, like, they have dialogue after that kind of, like, shows that, like, yeah, they're just like everybody else. That they would be there for you, and they're not just assholes. Like, they would have your back. Trevor, there's a really cool moment with Trevor that I really love, and it's you kidnap this dude's wife, and, like, you have her trapped in his trailer home. And, like, he, like, starts to care for her, actually, and, like, he opens up to her, and, like, about his life, about his feelings, about how much he cares about her, and, like, she kind of does the same thing, and at the end of the day, you guys decide to, after you fucked him over, you decide to give her back. And he's the one who has to do it, and, like, one of the biggest complaints I hear about Grand Theft Auto is, like, how many times in a mission you have to drive to your point and just listen to boring dialogue. At that moment, he starts, like, tearing up and expressing how upset he is that he has to give up this woman that he loves back to this douchebag that you just dicked over in the game as Franklin or Michael. So they have a lot more depth than just this guy's now. They are all assholes, and they all are criminals, and they're all shitty. But there's so much deeper than that. Like, Franklin's desire not to just be a gangster, he wants to be more than that. He wants to have a bigger impact because he doesn't want to follow in the same footsteps of everybody that's ever been around him. Even when he's, like, just helping Tanika or whatever, towing a car, he's always trying to say, like, there's something more than just doing this gangster bit. And, like, I want to do more than that. And I don't know what it is. And this is probably not it, this heist stuff. But I'm trying. So, they're not perfect, but they're also, like, satire on a lot of fucked up things about actual people. So, the way that those stories play out, yeah, there's a lot of stupid humor, like Michael doing drugs off the street and seeing aliens. And that's really fucking dumb, but it's funny. And we'll get into the humor in a second, but, like, those characters, including Lamar and including, like, the CIA agent, including even, like, Franklin's aunt, like, all of them are well written and they're all well voice acted and, like, they felt like real characters to me. Mm. So that's my defense on the story. And I think the story is very well, tightly written. What do you say? Gameplay mechanics? The cars used to drive like ass. They're a lot better than they used to be. And yeah, they're not the best racing mechanics, but or driving mechanics, but they're good. Cover also used to be a lot worse. I keep taking a Grand Theft Auto 4 as like the prime example of like how this is not how you do this game, and 5 is how you do this game. Covers everywhere, and the cover button mechanics work very well. The guns feel right. I mean, in a lot of the older games, they just felt like archaic and like they didn't really feel like real guns. These have like feedback to them. The vehicles, like planes and those do take a while to get to. But I can't drive anything in Battlefield to this day, and it's because I put time in the Grand Theft Auto ones. Otherwise, I'd be the same way. What was the next part you hit? Multiplayer. I'm actually gonna give you that. I'm not a big fan of GTA 5 multiplayer. I find that like the people who play that game, like I don't understand that. Like there's Team Deathmatch, which I actually thought was really fun. Like the standard modes are cool, and even the racing modes are like one of the best. But like free roam or that mechanic you were talking about, like shooting random people like in their cars, I don't understand that. Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, once you got into the game modes, it was decent.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But if you're in free play mode, like why are you in this mode? First off, you can't even render all of the characters that you could in the single player. So what the fuck's the point? Even on PC.
Yeah.
So that kind of ruins the whole point of having an open world with other people. But what was the last bit you talked about?
The RPG mechanics.
They're better in San Andreas. At least they exist. That game could get away with not having any. And they're there if you want... Maybe they're not the best, because I will agree they're not that great. But they're there if you want them to be. There are a lot of people who I know who play that game 7 times who never touched that stuff. And you'd be shocked how much I played tennis in that game. Like, yeah, it's a shitty tennis simulator, but it was fun to dick off with. And the option is there. The game would still be excellent without those moments, without bowling, without going to a strip club and throwing money at random hookers or strippers or whatever. Like, it doesn't need that stuff to be a good game, and it has it in there anyway to make the world more believable. Or the way that people will talk to you when you walk down the road and you're wearing something weird, or if you bump into them, they'll try to pick a fight with you. Like, that game is a technical marvel. I think it is one of the most beautiful games ever created. It is one of the best written games, and I think it is a 10 out of 10. It is not my favorite game, but it is a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Can I have one more caveat?
No, let's go. Let's get into this.
Yeah. So, okay. Walking into people, them reacting to you, that's one thing. I totally get that. I feel like the side games, like the tennis and all that stuff, was kind of supposed to be akin to like the diversions from the Saints Row series. But the thing is, the Saints Row diversions were gang-related. Like, you would do drug missions, you would participate in fight clubs, you would do this and that.
I apologize for interrupting, because this is what we'll do at this part of the segment, but like, who cares?
Well, it's because I don't want to play tennis. Like, if I'm playing GTA, I want to play a crime simulator. So give me mini games.
You can do
that are based around that.
Why? You can do mini games based on anything. And
I don't want tennis. Like, why waste the manpower and the money making a tennis game?
Nobody wanted tennis, but I bet you a lot of people played tennis and it was fun, like just like me. But if you wanted to go on a crime-filled adventure, play some side missions, play online heists, or play the story and redo heists in a different way. Like, the options are there. The minigame's not being based on that, like, who cares? It's fun. I had no idea how much fun it would be to, like, go bowling. Like, as much as I hate bowling, or, like, doing side missions that had nothing to do with the main story, that were just, like, like towing a car. Yeah, sometimes they're tedious, but sometimes they're really cool. Like, steal this airplane and just learn how to fly it in the middle of the desert and land it in the middle of the desert. So you
the tutorial missions are one thing. I mean, if something's teaching you how to do something, that's one thing.
No, even afterwards, like aside when that.
But you said it teaches you how to fly the plane. Like that's
a different plane.
If it's serving the purpose of helping you learn the mechanics that are useful, that's one thing.
Okay.
But you're not unless a story mission specifically involved you having to beat some guy at tennis. I don't imagine tennis being relevant.
No, but if you wanted to find more crime wave, like go into the airport and steal a plane.
Okay.
It's not easy, and the cops will fucking wreck your shit. Oh, I want to get back to the cops, by the way. It's way worse in 4, where they had like a zone. In 5, it's way better.
Like toll booths on the bridges.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Don't get me wrong. I'm very glad that they don't have that, but they still don't have the whole, hey, you made a mistake, or you don't feel like dealing with the cops right now, so just knock this out, and you're done.
If you really wanted to, type in a cheat code.
But then you can't get achievements, and the game hates you for it in its own special way. That points more to Rockstar saying, play the game we want you to play, damn it. Stop
and that's
playing.
Not a bad thing.
The whole point of Sandbox as a concept is make your own fun, do it your way.
Exactly.
But you can't have it both ways. You can't say do that, but then you're doing it wrong.
You can though, because they wouldn't put those cheats in the beginning. If you're playing a game for achievements, then yeah, you're already playing by such a finite set of rules that are so specific. That's your own fucking fault, in my opinion. If you want to have like what you're saying is to dick off and have fun in a sandbox, cheat codes do that for you too. Like those are just more tools.
And but if you can't temporary. Every cheat code that GTA 5 had that wasn't spawn a car or spawn a gun was temporary. Like, if you took invulnerability, it was 2 minutes. Infinite ammo was like 5 minutes.
So?
Who fucking cares?
Play it on PC and not have that problem.
You can't mod! You'll get cease and desisted!
You can still use mods in GTA.
Until it all gets taken out.
I don't know what's going on with that. Like, I'll admit, that's fucked up. Let fan-made mods do fan-made mod things, and get rid of the time limit in
if someone's cheating and they're already well aware of cheating, then why put a timer? Like, that's just dumb.
Well, they said that they didn't want to take anything away from single player mods. So if you have a single player mod and you have invincibility, what's wrong with that? Yeah, maybe it's a hoop that you have to go through, but that shouldn't take away with how fucking good this game is. This game is so good.
The game is almost like a resume. And to me, it says Rockstar needs to make a superhero game with that same level of detail. That's all it says to me.
No,
because
that makes no sense.
because they're trying to have their cake and eat it too by also having the stupid irreverent humor and also a serious crime story. Like,
yeah, what's wrong with having both? And they blend it very well. Even your comedic characters can be serious at points, but that doesn't make them less funny.
There was a scene where Trevor had to torture someone for information.
I hated that level.
And the way he was addressing the whole thing, I couldn't tell if I was supposed to laugh, if I was supposed to be getting uncomfortable, or what. I'm like, this pacing has... There's no fucking pacing in this.
True, but Trevor's not a character that, like, has rules like that. He's not... You're supposed to always feel uncomfortable when he's... That's the point of Trevor.
Up until that point, everything Trevor did, I laughed at.
I never laughed at Trevor. Like, when he beats the fuck out of the biker dude you played with in Lost and Damned in 4, and he's the guy who just fucking murders, like, the moment you meet Trevor. And, like, Trevor always just made me feel uncomfortable. I never thought he was funny. I always thought Lamar was funny, and I always thought Michael's family was funny. And some of the random fucks you find on the street. Trevor always made me feel uncomfortable. That moment was even more uncomfortable because I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny or not, and it was excellent.
I didn't think that way. I was like, eh. Like, you know what was a deep scene for me? I'm gonna keep pulling this back up because I actually like Saints Row 2 more than GTA 5. We'll argue that later.
Fair.
You played Saints Row 2, yeah?
I'm not the biggest fan of Saints Row 2, but that was probably my favorite one. I hate 3 and 4.
3 was okay. 4 tried too hard. Anyway, so in 2, one of your boys gets road hauled by a gang you're fighting, and your mission is to stop them. And you stop the guy, and he's on the road sizzling. And you're trying to, like, get this chain off of the car, and you can't fucking do it. And there's this scene where the boss just, like, takes his hand and puts a bullet in his head because he can't fucking save him. And I would say that was deeper than any moment I had in GTA 5.
See, the moment with Trevor delivering that man's wife back was the hard... Like, that was harder for me. Because, like, it was so unexpected. Like, and even, like, Franklin...
And then he turns around and delivers people to a cult.
No, I'm not forgiving Trevor his actions. His actions are shitty. His character though had his deep moment, and like, shut up.
And then he fucked a teddy bear in the eye. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's trying to have your cake and eat it too. He goes too far in one direction in my opinion, for there to be any moments where you're like, oh, he's so deep. Like, no. He's fucking insanity incarnate.
He is insane, but you can't deny that that's still a deep moment.
I mean, it can be, but again,
and then
he goes home and fucks a teddy bear in the eye.
He's a complicated character!
That's complicated, okay.
That is complicated. Look, anybody who's played GTA 5 knows that Trevor is none like any character we've ever seen before. But he has, you know why he does the things that he does. He has his reasonings of why he's so fucked up now, and it's subtly hidden in the game through side missions and in the main story when it's like,
well, then I didn't get that far, and it's kind of like the Final Fantasy 13 where you can't argue that the story gets good like 5 or 10 hours.
No, you should never play a game for 20 hours before it's good.
Like, so you should probably have drawn me in more with the depth earlier. You know, like, instead of just being, they're all assholes. They're such assholes.
They had me hooked, like when playing as Franklin and Lamar, and like kind of seeing their dynamic and how cool that was. I was hooked, and how fun it was to have like the sports car and running away from the cops in the first 10 minutes of the game.
My problem with Franklin was the same problem I had with the main character in Far Cry 4. That's the most recent one besides the
one with Pagan Min, right?
Yes. Okay, so the main character in 4 was the most nonchalant murderer I've ever seen. Like, you'd go to some guy, and they're like, hey, here's a mission that involves killing, like, 80 dudes. And he's like, okay. That's Franklin! They're like, hey, go steal, like, 50 cars and murder, like, 20 cops. Man, fine.
No, his missions are, he's tagging along with his crew, and he's like...
And then murdering cops.
He has to, not necessarily always murdering cops.
In the context of the game, if you start screwing up, cops show up, guess what you get to do?
Run away or shoot your way out. Yes. But, like, take the drug deal that happens in the beginning of the game where he's with Lamar. Lamar's the one who always gets him in trouble with that shit. He's down to just kind of relax and get out of that life and just do rob people instead.
Shooting people. And it's, like, okay, the gameplay of the game betrays what the cinematics are doing, which is him trying to get out, but then he just keeps doing more shit. Like,
from being a crime lord, from being like a 2-bit gangster, like, maybe so. But, like, I'm not saying just out in the sense of, like, I want to be out of crime entirely. He wants to have a better life because he knows he's more than just some random gangster on the street.
See, to me, it was saying, I don't want to be in this anymore. And then he kept getting in it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to play as you unless I need to drive from place to place because you're the only person that makes driving fun.
I disagree. Franklin is my favorite character in that game because of how, like...
I saw that hand. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm hoping
he's the most down-to-earth character, in my opinion. Like,
I'll agree with that, for sure.
And, like, my problem with Michael is that, like, he's just not that relatable. He's really not that relatable. And Trevor's not even fucking close to relatable. I understand all your points to the game, but, like, when you sit as a game developer and you look at that game and you, like, pick it apart as far as putting it on a scale of what makes a game excellent, that hits every note.
It doesn't, though.
It does, though.
It doesn't. Yeah. Okay, technically, again, like, one of my favorite parts about GTA 5 was that I could go from third person to first person and not miss a beat. Like, the gunplay still worked, the driving, I hated it, but it still worked. You know, you had all the details in the dashboard, all the details in the car. People were, you know, in your face. You had that full interaction. You could take selfies. If you took the Samsung Galaxy S5 mod, you could throw cell phones at people and it'd blow up. Was it
S7 Note.
That's the one. Thank you.
Or Note 7, sorry.
So, technically, yes, it's a masterpiece. Like James Cameron's Avatar.
But the biggest problem with James Cameron Avatar is the shitty story. It's a recycled story. But Grand Theft Auto has a great story. And Grand Theft Auto has always had a great story. Even with...
4 wasn't even that good.
San Andreas is one of the best ever. That story is one of the best written ever. I will admit that I never
actually got around to playing San Andreas. I kind of fell out of GTA when that game came out. I played 3 and Vice City.
Okay, I think 3 stories okay, just a little boring.
They're getting back.
And Vice City, I really just didn't like that much. I will
admit that I played a lot of Vice City when I was at that age where I didn't do the story as much as just dicked around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of my biggest problems with Grand Theft Auto when people talk about it as a good game. Is like, why is this a good game? It's like, oh, because I can run around and shoot whoever I want. It's like, that's not what makes it a good game. You might disagree with what makes it a good game is one of the best stories in games. It has one of the best mechanics, like, as far as gameplay, and it is one of the most interesting open worlds I've ever seen. And to this day, it's still really interesting.
Hey, okay, so I'm not going to argue with the fact that the game's still popular. And I'm not going to argue about the dicking around thing, because technically GTA 5 has the best dicking around ratio of them all, because you can dick around by watching TV, you can dick around by watching movies, you can dick around watching, browsing the internet, you can play tennis, bowling, you can dick around in ways that games could even, like, no game could even dream of. It's just the rest of it. I don't find the story interesting. I don't find the characters likable in even a I love to hate them sort of way. And so I don't feel invested. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do what I do in older Grand Theft Autos.
Dick off.
Start murdering people and, have some fun. And then 50 billion cops show up. Like, okay, straight up, you stand next to someone for too long and they call the cops. And, like, you don't get one. You don't come up and be like, hey, shove you away from them. They show up in, like, 3 cars, all whip out shotguns and start blasting your ass. It's 1 fucking star.
They
need to calm the fuck down.
If it's 1 star and you're not doing anything, they'll arrest you. That's how that. If you have 2 stars, yeah, they'll start shooting.
I got shot. I stood next to a guy because I wanted to see what would happen because he starts mouthing off, and then he mouthed off some more, and then his friend ran away and he called the cops, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I got shot, and I'm like, this is so stupid. I didn't even do anything.
The stuff that you keep saying is, like, the bad stuff. Like, I was invested. I loved that story. I still love, like, the characters and who they were, even though they're not my favorite characters. Like, if you told me, like, who do you like more, Joel and Ellie or Michael, Trevor, and Franklin? I'd be like, of course I like Joel and Ellie more. Or I like following Solid Snake's story. Or I like Commander Shepard's crew. Like, I'm always going to appreciate those guys and like those guys more than the GTA cast. But if you had to tell me which one was the best written, they're in the conversation. Because, like, go back and watch some of their dialogue and the way they speak and, like, how they stay true to their character and, like, develop it from there. Like, I think you'll have a different viewpoint on it. Like, go back and watch some of the characters' like best moments, like when they're planning out the heist or when Michael and Trevor are like fighting over the past about this guy that they need to bail out of jail. It's awesome. And gameplay mechanics, I think they do have room for improvement, but every game has room for improvement. And then the next entry, in like in Red Dead 2, it'll be better. And it'll always get better. Because where we were from GTA 3 to now is amazing.
It's light years.
It's
for sure.
spectacular. The open worlds will get bigger. You disagree?
No, I'm saying I agree to disagree. I think we're...
Okay. I agree to disagree.